Mm.
I think we have to start with Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. because I've been saying throughout the draft process, I could see him going anywhere between 10 and 50. So I'd be
Mhm.
curious if you could help me nail down a ceiling and a floor. And also we're gonna get to your hot take here about Michael Penix in a minute.
Michael Penix. So Michael Penix to me, uh, ceiling is 13 to the Raiders. I would say floor. We're thinking 43, 44 Atlanta Falcons in the mix. Um, Look, if not for the injuries, this dude is everything that you want in what I call a vertical based passing game. He throws the best deep ball in the draft, and that's including Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and those guys. He has a fearless mentality. He's a bit of a gunslinger in terms of like he is attacking the deep part of the field. And when you play against a quarterback that attacks with the deep ball, it forces you to change the way that you call defenses. You got to back up. So that means you have to concede a bunch of stuff underneath. Deadly accurate on those things as well. The thing that you don't see from Michael Penix is everyone went crazy over the workout, right? 4.46, big hands, athletic, and moves around. He doesn't show that on tape. Now, is this a situation where he was like, I'm gonna be tied to the pocket because I want to show people that I can play from the pocket? Or does he have that extra dimension in his bag? The scary thing for me is I remember everyone overlooking certain parts of CJ Stroud's game because he didn't run around. And so
Mm.
they dinged him. And I'm just looking at Michael Penix and I'm wondering, is he the one that we're sleeping on? Of all the quarterbacks, is he the one? Because when you watched him play those last 2 years at UW, everyone will talk about the supporting cast, but I also know that Jaden Daniels had a great supporting cast at LSU. Those wide receivers at Washington, I mean, he put it right in their hands. He made their game very, very easy for him. He's a really good quarterback. In the right system, I think the dude has a chance to be a star.
If he falls, let's say he falls into the 40s, you think it's purely because of his injury history, or is there an on tape element of his game that gives you pause?
I think the on tape element of the game that makes you pause dovetails into the injury concerns. Um, Everyone would point to the Michigan game and the Michigan game where he was a little off the mark and he didn't play like he played the previous game against Texas, where he just shredded Texas, carved him up with surgical precision. Michigan, they got to him and they hit him. My vantage point, when they hit him, he changed. Now, most quarterbacks change if you get to him, but I felt like he changed. And because he got touched up a little bit, I felt like, the ribs were a little tender. It kind of changed his game. So if anything, I would say that under duress, under pressure, can he stand in the storm? Can he stand under a barrage of like big hits and just kind of continue to uh, deliver? But there's so much good tape on Michael Penix where in shootouts with Bo Nix carves him up. Like 11 games they played against top 25 teams when he was at UW, 10-1. I mean, I know people don't like the quarterback win stat, but the job of the quarterback is to win games, and he certainly won a lot of games at UW.
I do think it matters in college football where a top tier quarterback can make that much of a level of difference. Like if a guy that's going to start on Sundays plays quarterbacks for you in college, you should win a lot of big games. Typically, I know. I mean, maybe that doesn't
So
apply
so
across the
then
board.
but then that goes to my argument about Drake May, and this pains me.
I
Like it would pain
I
you.
hear you. I
It,
get it.
I don't have a signature game for my guy. Like, and sitting there, and maybe I watch too many games. If I have to tell you that the notable win that he has on his resume is Duke, that's not going to really get you excited, even though Duke has come a long way. But that's the signature win, Miami. But Miami's a 500 team, basically. So that is the thing. And people will talk about like didn't have the weapons and all of that. But at some point in college, much like high school, when you're the best dude on the field, you fall into some wins on your own accord.
I do think the natural rebuttal to that is Mr. Mahomes was on a lot of 7-5 teams at Texas Tech, but he was the best player in a lot of those games. He just didn't have a ton of help around him when he was going up against the Oklahomas of the world.
And that's a great thing because Mahomes is the outlier. Now, no scout will admit this, but I have texts and notes in my phone where I talked to all these scouts about Pat Mahomes, and they all said, "Wow, unbelievable player, sandlot player, great arm, this and that." Never seen it work in the league.
Oh yeah.
He like that was the common. That's the common thing. I'm talking about my guys that I lean on. They say, "Hey man, look, he's great. He's sandlot." I've never seen this translate to success in the league. But going back to the point that we talked about, system players. He's a remarkable player that landed in the right system for him. And I would say, really, the system is Andy Reid's creativity and brilliance. I don't know if Pat Mahomes works at the same level if he goes elsewhere. So that's the thing. And so maybe like Josh Allen with Brian Daboll, like it's the same thing. It's really important where they land.
It's the essence of what makes this so fun. Which, okay, before we move on from Penix, though, like this, and the reason I think I honed in on it is that you're not the first person I've heard suggest this, but in trying to find a landing spot for Michael Penix Jr., you had a very interesting suggestion for a team that could
Oh,
potentially use him.
okay, so if you take the ego out of it, right? If we talk about it being business, and if everyone operates, and I don't think all general managers operate on like, hey, this is business. This ain't about feelings or whatever. This is about me putting the team in the best position to win. The Dallas Cowboys should draft Michael Penix with the first round with the 24th overall pick. And it is sense look, it makes sense because Dak Prescott, final year of his deal. He is going to command on the open market 60 million annually regardless of what you think and how good he is or whatever, like there's only a handful of players that can give you 60. In fact, there's only one quarterback that I'll pay 60 million annually to, and that would be Pat Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, you got to think about who's going to be our next quarterback because Dak is not going to give you a hometown discount. You made him earn every contract that he has had. And maybe if you had done a little differently early on the front end, maybe he would give you a discount on the back end. But because you made him play on the franchise tag, he was the 4th-round pick. You didn't sweeten the deal until you absolutely had to. Now Dak Prescott is like, oh, no, you're going to pay me. So if that is what we're looking at, you're Jerry Jones, you're Mike McCarthy, who is known as a quarterback developer. Okay, who's the guy that would fit what we want to do? To me, Michael Penix would be that guy. You take him first round this year, you have an opportunity to redshirt him while Dak Prescott plays out the last year of his deal. And then 2025, Michael Penix.
It makes so much sense in a vacuum, but that's what is so strange about this Cowboys offseason. They kept McCarthy. They didn't extend him, so McCarthy's fighting for his job. Dak is fighting for a new contract. They didn't do anything to improve the team in free agency. So now you're in a situation where you're saying, if we're going to be better this year, we've got to nail this draft class. And then you go out and spend the first round pick on a quarterback. Like it makes sense for the Dallas Cowboys, but can you imagine being Mike McCarthy or Dak Prescott and seeing that and saying, okay, so what's the goal for 2024? What are we doing here?
Yeah, that's funny because I have a lot of Cowboys fans as friends, and I would say right now, the way this team looks on paper compared to what the team was last year, they're taking a step back. If they get 12 wins out of this team as it's presently constructed, that would be one of the best coaching jobs that Mike McCarthy has done. Because right now they don't have the firepower to be able to do it. Not only in the backfield, up front, it's a bit of a mess. Defensively, you lose Dan Quinn and Joe Witt, which is a big loss. Like this is not the same team. So we're counting on Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy to be at their best with the pressure of knowing is win or go home. That's a lot. So yeah, it's fantasy, it's pie in the sky stuff. But if the team really had a long-term vision, they should take a quarterback this year, or they really should have taken a quarterback last year. But this is the year where they take a quarterback and then they have a quarterback in the hopper because as much as we talk about Trey Lance and he's there doing his thing or whatever, like you got to have someone in line because if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you don't have a chance.
And Trey Lance is also in the last year of his deal, assuming the Cowboys aren't going to pay him $23 million on the 5th-year option, which I really don't think they're going to do. So Trey Lance is a nice idea, but no 100% guarantee that he's on your team next year either. It makes a lot of sense, but I have a hard time believing Jerry Jones would play for the big picture like that. But man, I think I think that would lead every NFL draft story in America on Friday if it were to happen on Thursday night.